I've never lived on the West Coast. I've always wanted to. I really like it a lot out here. The weather, the hiking, the outdoor opportunities, and so far so good. I do want to apologize for those of you who came in yesterday afternoon. That weather was horrific. We don't typically have that kind of experience, and if you had to experience that tomorrow, I'm sorry. That's not typically the kind of welcome that we want to give to people that come to Las Vegas. So thank you for being here. I'm really proud of my team. I'm happy to be at UNLV. It's a university with a lot of opportunities, quite different from the University of Pittsburgh, and before that I was at Georgia State in Atlanta. Also very different, but I seem to have this career trajectory of being at R1 urban institutions. I didn't intentionally pick that. That's just how my life worked out. I don't know why. But thanks for having me. So my topic, or the title, is If You Build It, They Will Come and Do What They've Always Done. Now, how many of you have heard people say that before about the work we do in instructional technology? Anybody hear people say that? Perhaps you've said it yourself. And there's a lot of truth to that, unfortunately. A lot of times we build these amazing spaces for, for faculty to do their magic, to do their teaching, and we try to build something that's going to enhance their pedagogy, enhance their teaching practice, and improve student learning outcomes. And yet, once they get in there, they're doing a lot of the same things. I can remember at the University of Pittsburgh, we spent quite a lot of money revising a lot of what we call our large enrollment classrooms. These are classrooms that hold between 200 and 500 students for those kinds of classes. And we're so proud of the work, and it's so beautiful, and it's so cool. And nothing is more disheartening to walk by and see the faculty doing the same things that they've always done long before we made those changes. So I want to talk today a little bit less about the technology. I would imagine that all of you are incredibly skilled at using technology, setting up AV, setting up your LMS systems, setting up student response systems, all of those things, and talk about something that's actually more important than all of that. And we'll get to what that is. So first I want to start with a question. And I'd like for you to talk about this at your table. What is your job? If you were going to boil down the responsibilities or the key point of your job in one sentence, what would that sentence be? So let me give you like 2 minutes at your table to come up with a one-sentence description of your job. Go for it. All right, does anybody want to tell me one of their favorite sentences from your table to describe your job? Any volunteers? Don't be shy. Okay, you can be shy. I understand some of you. Yes, go ahead.
To improve educational outcomes.
I like it. Very simple, very direct, and very true. Anybody else have anything similar to that? Okay. So jobs are funny things. We sign up for a job, we go through the interview process, we ask a lot of questions, they ask us a lot of questions, and then we get to the institution, and then in about the first 30 days we figure out what the job really is. And I always say, whatever you're going to do when you get to your institution, whatever you are, just be a good one. This is from a little town in Thomas, West Virginia, that I used to go to a lot to hike. It's pretty cool. But I want to talk about this less traveled road that we don't often get on in instructional technology, but that I want us to do a lot more of. We're all about the cool gadgets, the cool technologies, the cool AV systems and sound systems and all those things. And I like that too, no doubt about it. I'm pretty geeky. But I want to talk about things that are much bigger than that in the context of our jobs and whether or not we're going to be successful and useful in our jobs. And I want to start with the question, why do instructors do what they do? Anybody have any ideas? Like, if I'm an instructor at your institution, why do you think that I teach the way that I teach? Any ideas? Don't be shy. You could throw some. Yeah.
Because you're following the template your teacher set up for you.
It's so true. A lot of evidence suggests that most faculty, and this is true K-12, college, everywhere, you tend to mirror or model the things that you saw when you were a student. So if you were fortunate enough to have really good teachers in your career and you model that behavior, chances are you'll be a good teacher too. You might not be even conscious of what you're doing or why you're doing it, but you're absolutely right. The evidence suggests that that's one of the biggest factors. And there are a lot of other ones too. Time constraints. A lot of faculty, as you know, you don't need me to tell you, they're pulled in a lot of directions. They have a lot of demands. That always worked. They've been doing it this way for 20 years. Why should I change anything? That's what my teachers did. That's exactly what this gentleman was touching on earlier. They're scared of failure. My friend Lauren Herkes at Carnegie Mellon, she's an anthropologist by training, and she just did a big study, got a lot of press about it, that the faculty are, big surprise, terrified of failing or looking dumb in front of their students. Nobody wants to look foolish in front of their students, right? They're scared of teaching evaluations, and they're scared of being judged by their students, by their colleagues, by the administration for trying something and then it being an utter failure. So those are a lot of things to worry about when you're a faculty member. And a lot of times when you ask them to do something, they're the typical deer in the headlights, like, you want me to do what? And they just don't comprehend it because they're already under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and they don't even really hear what you're saying. They can't really process it and understand. So they're also sometimes, occasionally, working in a vacuum. And sadly, a lot of times, so are we. And that's really the big thing that I want to get at in my presentation today, which is to get everybody to get out of their offices, to go out into their campus, into their institution, and meet the people. It sounds very political, right? It sounds like I'm running for office. I'm totally not. I just want to encourage everybody to be a good instructional technologist, educational technology, AV person, whatever you see yourself being, to really think about how you can go out there and talk to people. Because a lot of us are working in a vacuum. Maybe we go and we get the requirements for what somebody wants. We go back to our desk, we draw it out, we figure it out. It's a beautiful drawing, it's a beautiful implementation of whatever it's supposed to be. But we don't have a lot of follow-through and check-ins with the other people. And so what I want to talk about today is how we, as instructional technologists at big institutions and small institutions, can kind of sweeten our approach, make our approach with faculty and the people who are using our spaces and our technologies a lot better. So, as I said, we work in a bubble. We sort of isolate ourselves. We surround ourselves with really bright people in our groups and our departments, but we don't talk a lot to our clients. And if we are talking to them, it's often after the fact, maybe things are done, and we don't even necessarily go back to check in on them to see how things are going. For a lot of faculty, a big change is scary. When you take them into a classroom, for example, that's just been completely redesigned from what they are used to having in a classroom, they freak out a little bit. They just kind of shut down. They need a lot of time to warm up to the space, to figure out the space, to see how the space can be used. And it's terrifying. So for us, we're the IT folks, we're really excited about this, we're thrilled, we're exuberant in a lot of ways. The faculty is a little terrified, and then the water here is the great unknown. So these are the dock dogs from Lake Arthur in Pennsylvania. So I thought this was a pretty good visual representation of how a lot of faculty feel. Now, I don't actually know if this particular dog is terrified or exuberant, but he looks a little bit afraid to me. So knowing that academia can be socially isolating, what do? How do we reach out to faculty to bridge this gap between the work that we're trying to do for them and to get them to talk to us and to get ourselves better at talking to them? We have to start small. So like I said earlier, if we throw a lot of crazy ideas at faculty all at one time, including the administration, they tend to shut down a little bit. They tend to freak out a little bit. Now, there are some exceptions. At Georgia State, we had, and I think he's still there, Mark Becker, who is a really cool guy, big risk taker, and his risk taking has really paid off. He's been getting a lot of attention in the news for all the things he's done at Georgia State, and it's very exciting. But he's a big risk taker. Not all college administration is into risk taking. A lot of them tend to be a lot more conservative, a lot more resistant to change, and maybe don't even want to rock the boat. So you typically have to start small. And you're probably going to have to be the one to take the first step. I think there used to be a lot of culture at institutions, and it's still out there to be sure, where there was this very clear dividing line between staff and faculty. And the faculty didn't really talk to staff about getting ideas for how to do this or how to do that. And the same was true the other way. The staff didn't really talk to faculty when things were going on the staff side. Now, in order for institutions to really succeed, there's going to have to be a lot more working together between staff and faculty. So I don't know how it is at your institution, but that's one of the things I really love about UNLV, is that there's a lot fewer barriers between staff and faculty here. It's much more collaborative, and that's the kind of environment that I hope all of you get to experience if you're not currently getting to experience that now. But you are going to have to take the first step and really engage the faculty. Now, this is a little trick. I'm going to give you guys some tricks that I have used over the last several years in my career in higher ed that have really worked. I won't give you the ones that haven't worked because I don't want you to fail like I did in some ways. Just the things that were successful. Here is something that pays huge dividends, and it takes like 5 minutes for you to do. If you know that you're about to have a meeting with a faculty member about a technology, a classroom, something they want to do, take just 5 minutes to look them up on the web and find out what it is they research and write about. Because if you can just drop a few words, a few lines about having paid attention to what they care about and what they're writing about, they will be your new best friend. And it's also kind of interesting too. A lot of times you have really amazing people on your campus. You don't even know how many books they've published, how many awards they've won, how many cool things they've done, all the cutting edge research they do. And in fact, a lot of faculty can get discouraged because they feel like they're not getting the recognition on their own campus that they deserve. So if you just take 5 minutes, take a look at the last article they published, the last book they published, whatever their big grant is funding right now, and let them know that you're paying attention, they will suddenly listen to you like you would not believe. 5 minutes, that's all it takes. You don't have to read the whole 30-page write-up in the journal. You just have to read the abstract. You're good to go. You'll understand it. It'll be awesome. So do that. The next thing is to listen. You probably are not surprised to hear that faculty often like to talk. They spend a lot of time reading and building these ideas, and they really want an audience and someone who cares about what they have to say, and more importantly, who's going to listen to what they say. So you need to spend not just a lot of your day in your office designing cool things and testing technologies, etc., but allotting a whole lot of time to go out and listen to the faculty. One thing I did at Pitt that was incredibly successful, I think it blew people's minds, and I come from the corporate world. I worked for places like IBM and PricewaterhouseCoopers, and so I think I brought a lot of these corporate ideas with me, and that's kind of helped me along the way, is over the summer I would work with the registrar to find out who's teaching what, how many people are in these classes, what time of day is this class taught. And I would take 2 or 3 every day. I would write personalized emails, not an email template, but a truly personalized email to these faculty that I'd never met before to say, hey, I see you're teaching chemistry in the so-and-so building at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's a tough time to teach chemistry. I know you've got 180 kids in there. I've got some ideas that might be helpful to you. Can I come by and help you and talk to you and learn about what your struggles are and what your challenges are? And I would say I always got some kind of response. It was amazing. Because, you know, a lot of faculty don't respond to those mass emails that you send out, the newsletters that you spend so much time preparing and making really beautiful. They just don't read them, unfortunately. But if you write something that's personalized, that speaks to their experience and exactly what they're doing, they will respond, even if it's just to say, you know what, I'm good. I've been doing this 10 years. I don't need anything. I'm good. But what happens a lot of times is, well, you know what, I do have this challenge. I'm trying to do this in Canvas and I don't really know how, or I'm doing this with Top Hat and it's just not working the way I want to. Can you help me design this? Or the kids never really get this concept. Can you help me design this better, et cetera? And it is remarkable how that personal outreach can transform things and really get them to move forward. You also have to have a lot of partners on campus. And that's obviously the faculty, but you have to talk to the chairs and the deans and the administration. There's a lot of talented people on your campus that can help you do your job a lot better. Sometimes they're in student affairs, sometimes they're in faculty affairs, sometimes they're in the registrar's office, all over campus. So don't just limit yourself if you're in the IT department like I am, or if you're in the teaching center or whatever you're a part of. You have to go out and talk to a lot of people. And of course, get input from your herd. You are surrounded in your office by people that are very smart. Maybe they've been at your institution for a lot of years. For me, I've been at UNLV for 4 months. I don't know anybody. So I go to Scott and Frank and Rohan and Andy and all these people to really pick their brains about, have you worked with this person before? What are their challenges? And the institutional knowledge is in fact very, very valuable. take advantage of it. Perhaps you're lucky enough to have that institutional knowledge yourself. And so build. A lot of you have to build things all the time. And obviously that's a critical component of your job. But I really want to encourage you to think about building relationships across your campus and even outside of your campus. For a number of years, I was the president of the Learning Technology Consortium, which is a collection of East Coast schools. And we would get together twice a year to talk about everything from instructional technology to all the changes on our campus. And we would get tours of each other's campus, and it was fantastic. All of those people at those 10 institutions are still great friends of mine. In fact, just Monday of this week, a friend of mine from Wake Forest was passing through Vegas. Everybody passes through Vegas. I love it. And so we got to have lunch, and I got to catch up on what was happening at Wake Forest. It's fantastic. So these kinds of events, the ones that you're at right now, talk to people, sit with people you don't know, and find out what's going on at their institution, and build your own social network. You'd be amazed at what schools, maybe even schools that you've never heard of before, are doing that's quite innovative, quite unique, and is probably transferable to your own school. So relationships, here's some cactus from this side of the country. And last but not least, I wanted to mention the importance of reflecting on what you're doing. As geeky people, we're often, or we think we're not the best writers, but in fact, you don't have to be a poet. You just have to take a little bit of time, a few days every week, and sort of write down what you're doing and keep track of it. If you keep track of it, you'll remember it better, you'll follow up on things, all of that, however you want to do it. If you want to do a journal, if you want to do a blog, I'm not suggesting you make your blog public so that everybody sees about the angry conversation you had with Dr. So-and-so, but it is important to write it down and keep track of it. I love this. This is from Mobile, Alabama. I grew up in Alabama. And I love this quote. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life. And a lot of times building relationships is really just about taking risks. You have to put yourself out there. And not everybody's going to like you. I probably don't have to tell you that a lot of faculty are going to be like, don't need you, I'm good, thanks. Go away. And that's okay. But you're going to have a lot of faculty who are delighted that you care about them, who are excited about working with you and want to work with you. And those are the faculty where you should be putting a lot of your energy. Partner with them, make them look great, and you will change your institution and everything that you do. So that's pretty much it for me, and I think we're doing good on time. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take questions from the audience, or I can just let you eat and drink. Anybody have any questions about what I've talked about, or anything? UNLV, Pitt, Georgia State, hiking in the area. Yeah. All right, well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to talk to you all. Have a good conference.